Welcome to this video. Today we need to talk about Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat last Friday went up over 15% in just one day, and we're almost back at the $1 mark. So in this deep dive stock analysis video, we're going to go over the latest news, the fundamentals, the technicals, and we're going to find out whether this is still a great buying opportunity and whether a short squeeze might be around the corner. So buckle up and let's dive right in. So we're now looking here on the charts on TradingView, and we can see that Beyond Meat is still in a technical downtrend. We can see that the 50 simple moving averages is below the 200 simple moving average. But what's interesting is that last Friday it went up over 15% here with a massive green candle, and we can see that it closed above the 50 simple moving average, which could indicate for a bullish signal. We can see that my average cost price is around $1.70, so I'm still down roughly 43%. So in this video, we're going to find out whether this massive green candle on Friday can lead to a massive short squeeze in the near future, and whether today is still a great buying opportunity for the long-term investor, with earnings coming soon on 4th of March. Beyond Meat is a plant-based meat company. They make meat based on plant products, so it's completely vegan. And last month they released a new product in which were protein drinks, and they sold it on their Beyond Test Kitchen. Like, it was online, it was not in retail, and it did really well, and that's why they decided to expand their line. So Beyond Meat expands new line of protein drinks with 4 additional flavors. Following strong consumer response, the brand offers even more ways to enjoy the crisp and refreshing functional beverage line. And it looks kind of like this. In short, a month ago they released Beyond Immerse, which is a blend of plant protein, fiber, antioxidants, and electrolytes designed to replenish the body with refreshing sip. And it did really well. Like, they sold out online, and that's why they decided to expand their product line. And that's generally a bullish sign for the company, I would say. We're now looking here on StockTwits because Beyond Meat became a meme stock a few months ago. There was a massive short squeeze, and there was a lot of excitement for the retailers. And there was a lot of short interest from like the hedge funds and the big money, and that's why we had this massive short squeeze. But what is the sentiment today? Well, here we can look that the sentiment right now is extremely bullish, and this is probably because of last Friday with a 15% bullish close, and the message volume is still extremely high. So the big questions investors ask is whether there could be a massive short squeeze around the corner. Well, in order for there to be a short squeeze, there need to be a high short interest ratio and short volume. So we are looking here at the short interest ratio and short volume of Beyond Meat here on MarketBeat, and we can see that the short percent of float is 31.62%. And we can see that in the last month it has been increasing, and it's now at 31.62%, which is pretty decent, and it's very high. But of course this is a meme stock, so high risk, high reward, but I would say that there is enough short interest in order to have a massive short squeeze. But we need to have a positive catalyst first. If you want to learn how to master stock analysis like a pro and find winning stocks and beat the market so you can build a portfolio that consistently wins, then feel free to check the link in the description down below. What's also interesting to notice is that there is also a lot of open interest on the call options of Beyond Meat at the strike price that is close to the current price. And we can see here, if we look at the volume graph, we can see the open interest is very high and the open interest change is plus 5,000. And this kind of shows that there's probably a lot of people buying cheap call options. And once the stock is going to go much higher through bullish news, then that can create a gamma squeeze because the market makers have to buy back all the shares to cover all the call positions. And this can lead to a gamma squeeze. So if we can get a combination of a gamma squeeze and a short squeeze, then that could be really bullish for retail investors. So the big question that investors also have is whether Beyond Meat is undervalued. We all know that great companies go up over time in value, but it doesn't go up in a straight line. It goes up in cycles. So it goes up like through a lot of optimism, then you have a lot of pessimism, and optimism and pessimism. And that's how cycles work. So the question is whether Beyond Meat right now is here, whether it's undervalued. Beyond Meat is a high risk, high reward company, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy, and that's why the price is so low. And the question is whether this can still give us a positive risk reward. Well, in order to know whether it's undervalued or not, we need to use the price to sales ratio because the company isn't profitable yet, but they do have revenue. So the price to sales ratio is essentially the market cap divided by its revenue. And what does that mean? It tells us how much investors pay per dollar of sales. So price to sales ratio, market cap divided by revenue. So the stock has declined a lot and therefore the market cap is very low. And if the revenue is high compared to the market cap, then that could be great and that could give us a margin of safety. Here we can see the price to sales ratio of Beyond Meat on GuruFocus, and it says it's 0.24. And we can see that that is very low compared to the average and compared to the competitors. Here we can see the price to sales ratio of Beyond Meat versus the competitors. And we can see that Beyond Meat has a price to sales ratio around 0.24. And we can see that the competitors like Tyson Food is like 0.41, 0.74, 0.58. So we can see that the competitors are also pretty low. But I would say that it's relatively low compared to the competitors and on itself. And I would say that based on its revenue, Beyond Meat is relatively undervalued. It's also important that a company is in the right industry and that the industry in itself is growing so they can capitalize on it and they can grow their business. And that's important for this company to become profitable again and to turn around, because this is like a turnaround company. Well, here we can read that the plant-based food market forecast and outlook of 2026, and they can say 2026 to 2036, the plant-based food market is expanding from 16 billion in 2026 to 49.5 billion by 2036, driving by robust compounded annual growth rate of 12%. This spike signifies a mature phase where the industry moves beyond initial hype into sustained volume-driven growth, supported by data showing that the US plant-based retail sector alone reached 8.1 billion in 2024, reflecting long-term category resilience and deepening consumer adoption. Therefore, I would say that Beyond Meat is in the right industry. 12% is enough for this company to turn around and to become profitable again, and that the stock price will go to the previous levels. That being said, of course, there are a lot of risks with this company, but they are in the market, so it is definitely possible to become profitable again as a company. Another thing that's very important before we invest into a company is whether a company has a strong economic moat. So here we can find the economic moat. I made like an economic moat analyzer, and we can type in the ticker of Beyond and we can analyze, and we can see that it doesn't have a strong moat. So it has an overall moat score of 3 out of 10. We can read Beyond Meat has brand recognition in plant-based meat market, but lacks meaningful cost or distribution advantages. Competition, low switching cost, and weak profitability limits its moat strength. So it does have intangible assets, but not too much switching cost, not too much cost advantage, and not too much network effects. So here are the strengths and risks. We can see that it's a strong early mover brand in plant-based meats. It's partnerships with major retailers and food chains. So they work together with like Walmart, with Hard Rock Cafe, and they're pretty good at that. They are rising consumer interest in health and sustainability. So they are in the right industry, product innovation and R&D capability. But there are many risks like high competition from traditional and alternative protein producers, like Impossible Foods, for example, low switching costs, weak economies of scale and declining demand, and brand fatigue in key markets. So we're back here on the charts again, and Beyond Meat is now at 95 cents. So the question, could this be a great buying opportunity? Well, based on the price to sales ratio, it is undervalued and it is also very hyped up right now. The sentiment is very bullish, but of course the company isn't profitable yet and the economic moat isn't the strongest. So this is a high risk, high reward company, and I would only allocate a small percentage of my portfolio to this company. So I risk $1 to make like $10 or $20, and that's very important to keep in mind, because if you only risk a small percentage of your portfolio, then it becomes low risk, high reward, because you can only lose what you put in. And my average cost price is around $1.70, and I will not buy anymore. I would just hold for a few years, and I believe that this company has the potential to turn around. But of course, always do your own research, always do your own due diligence. This is just for educational purpose only. But if you like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe for more videos. And if you want to support this channel even more, feel free to become a member. With that being said, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Are you ready to master stock analysis yourself? Well, I built a step-by-step video guide to help you build a winning portfolio that does well over time. So if you want to stop guessing and start winning, then make sure to check the link in the description below.